Revilla and Juanito Mendoza in connection with a malversation case linked to the flood control scandal. For the latest developments, we go live to Mobile Journal, Arles de los Santos. Arles, what's going to happen today?
Angela at Diego, natapos na nga yung unang bahagi ng arraignment laban kay dating Senador Bong Revilla, kaugnay nga ng kasong malversation of public funds through falsification of public documents na hawak ng 3rd Division ng Sandigan Bayan, kung saan nga ay hindi muli naghain ng guilty or not guilty plea ang dating senador dahilan upang ihain ng korte ang not guilty plea para sa kanya. Ito kasi yung automatiko na hakbang kapag hindi nag-hain ng plea ang isang akusado. Kaugnay yan ng maanumalyang flood control project na umano'y na-existence sa Pantibulacan na nagkakahalaga ng 92.8 billion pesos. Kasama sa mga binasa kanina na sakdal ay kung paano ngayon naging proseso ng pag-release nito, kagaya na lamang yung paglabas ng mga dokumento para mailabas yung pera at yung iba nga ng mga dokumento pa na dahilan para maging posible yung paglabas ng pera na ito. Nabanggit din na si dating Senador Bong Revilla din daw pala yung chair nga ng Public Works Committee ng 19th Congress. Kanina rin dito, alas 6 pa lang ng umaga, malakas na yung sigaw ng mga taga-suporta ni Revilla na iginiit ang malinis na konsensya ng dating senador na kung saan sinasabi nga nila na dapat daw ang usigin at litisin si dating DPWH Undersecretary Roberto Bernardo dahil ito raw yung talagang utak at mastermind mismo ng mga korupsyon kaugnay ng flood control project sa bansa. Hindi raw ang isang senador na ang trabaho ay gumawa ng isang batas, kabukod pa dyan, yung kanilang argumento na dati na daw napawalang sala si Revilla sa kaso dito rin na hinarap niya sa Sandigan Bayan.
Oo. Arles, para lang mas malinaw sa ating mga kapatid na nanonood ngayon, kailan itatalaga yung pre-trial, ang schedule nun, at saka yung preliminary conference?
Kanina ay narinig natin, Angela, na magkakaroon ng ilang araw yung pre-trial conference. Ayan ay gagawin sa February 23 hanggang 27 para yan sa preliminary conference, and then sa March 6 naman ay yung pre-trial mismo nito. Aabangan natin kung magkakaroon pa ba ng panibagong mga motion ang senador patungkol nga dito sa kanyang kasong kinaharap sa Sandigan Bayan.
And for those two sets of schedules, ano yung pagkakaiba nun? Ano yung mangyayari for each schedule?
At least for the preliminary conference, Angela, doon ay paplansyahin yung magiging schedule ng mga magiging paglilitis. Doon na rin ay i-confirm kung sino nga yung magiging kabahagi ng defense at ng prosecution, sino-sino yung mga abogado, ano yung mga charge, sino-sino yung magiging testigo, at kabukod pa dyan syempre kung ano yung mga ebidensya na kanilang ipapasok at yung marking of exhibits, pati yung admission of facts na ilalagay doon sa depensa ng akusado. And then para naman doon sa pre-trial ay doon na sisimula na silipin yung mga ebidensya at yung mga ipinasok na impormasyon patungkol dito sa kasong kinaharap nito.
Well, Arles, I understand nag-file ng motion ang kampo ni former Senator Bong Revilla doon sa paglipat ng detention facility niya. Sinasite nga niya yung security reasons, pero ito ay na-deny ng korte. I was wondering kung meron pa ba siyang opportunity to refile it or ask for reconsideration, or final na yung desisyon ng korte regarding that issue?
Sa ngayon, Angela, ay hindi pa natin nakakapanayam yung abogado or yung counsel mismo ni dating Senador Bong Revilla, pero wala pa tayong naririnig so far na magpo-file sila ng motion for reconsideration doon sa nauna nang i-deny o ibinasura ng motion ni Revilla na mailipat nga sa PNP Custodial Center. Pero kahit PNP na kasi mismo nagsabi na kung maaari, wag daw dalhin itong si Revilla sa kanila dahil sa karagdagang gastos at additional security kapag itinagdag ito sa kanila, dahil mga high-profile inmates na din or personalities yung kanilang hawak sa kustodiya ngayon. Pero sa usapang motion, Angela, meron ding naging motion, bukod kasi kay Revilla, nandito din si ang dating DPWH Bulacan First District Engineering Official na si Juanito Mendoza, na kung saan nga naghain ito ng not guilty plea para pa rin sa kasong malversation, kasabay niya kasi sa schedule si Revilla. Pero itong si Juanito Mendoza, nag-file siya ng motion for consolidation dito sa 3rd Division ng Sandigan Bayan para pagsamahin na daw yung graft and malversation case nito para mas mapabilis yung paglilitis. Hindi yan kinatigan ng korte pero meron isa silang motion, Angela at Diego, na partially granted. Ayun nga yung motion for reconsideration nito na nais nila na pagpaliwanagin o ibalik sa Sandigan Bayan yung ilan sa mga bagay na pwedeng silipin o sagutin nito. No? Bibigyan sila ng 60 days yung Sandigan Bayan para nga ma-resolve ito. Pero hindi nun ibig sabihin, Angela, na hindi naman papatuloy yung kaso dahil yung motion for reconsideration na yon ay para lamang bigyang linaw, no? At bigyan ng teknikalidad yung kaso ngang isinampa dito laban sa mga personalidad na ito.
What about the co-accused nila? Isa pa, bukod dun sa Juanito Mendoza, si Bryce Hernandez. Any update on his arraignment also today?
Dapat daw, Angela, ay isasabay yung arraignment ni Bryce Hernandez pero hindi yan natuloy. Actually, tinanong din nga ng judge kanina kung bakit nandito si si Hernandez, no? At kahit tayo ay nagulat kasi we're just expecting Juanito Mendoza and dating Senador Bong Revilla. But so far, hindi, at least, no, paglabas natin, hindi na isagawa yung arraignment sa kanya at kukumpirmahin natin kung gumulong o nagkaroon nga ba ng anumang aksyon ng korte dito.
Ano kayang possible na reason? Conflict of schedule ba yan? Bakit kasi siya naandyan? Kasi hindi naman lalabas ang isang akusado sa detention facility, di ba, kung walang pahintulot ng korte?
Yeah, at least siguro, Angela, yung target nga nila na ma-arraign din itong si Hernandez ngayon. Titignan natin maya-maya lamang kung meron nga ba or na-arraign nga ba itong si Bryce Hernandez.
And lastly, Arles, nakapagsambit ba ulit ng few words ito si former Senator Bong Revilla katulad nung last time that he was there? He said, I believe, laban lang. Ngayon, meron bang pagkakataon na nakausap siya ng media?
O Angela, nagkaroon tayo ng pagkakataon kanina na makapanayam itong si Revilla pero mabilis lang. Ito ay nung nagpunta siya para mag-CR, no, dito. Suot-suot niya pa rin yung yellow na detainee uniform ng BJMP at kinumusta natin siya. Ayon sa kanya ay okay naman daw siya and hiningan din natin siya ng mensahe sa kanyang mga taga-suporta na nagpapasalamat siya sa suporta ng mga ito sa kabila at pagpapatuloy ng paglilitis sa kanya kaugnay ng maanomalyang flood control project na kinasasangkutan nito.
Alright, maraming salamat sa iyong oras. Mobile Journal, Arles de los Santos reporting live from Sandigan Bayan.
Key figures named in the ICC probe into former President Rodrigo Duterte's war on drugs are denying the allegations, calling them baseless as the case advances. Here is the report.
Senators Ronald Bato de la Rosa and Christopher Lawrence Bongo are among the 7 individuals named by the International Criminal Court as alleged co-perpetrators in the crimes against humanity case linked to former President Rodrigo Duterte's war on drugs. Also listed in the ICC documents are former Justice Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre III, former Philippine National Police Chiefs Vicente Danao and Oscar Albayalde, former NCRPO Chief Camilo Acascolan, who has since passed away, former NBI Director Dante Giran, and former PDEA Chief Isidro La Peña. Based on ICC documents, Duterte allegedly led a common plan with his co-perpetrators to neutralize suspected criminals involved in illegal drugs through violent crimes, including murder, from November 1, 2011 to March 16, 2019. The ICC also detailed the alleged roles of the officials in the bloody war on drugs. Senator De La Rosa previously served as Davao City Police Chief before becoming PNP Chief from 2016 to 2018. Senator Go, meanwhile, served as Duterte's personal aide from his time as mayor of Davao City until he became president. According to prosecutors, during Duterte's mayoral period, he and Bongo allegedly used members of the Davao City Police and non-police hitmen, collectively referred to as the Davao Death Squad, to kill suspected criminals. During Duterte's presidency, the ICC said he and his co-perpetrators allegedly used a national network, including low-level members, to carry out the crimes under what was described as a common plan. Senator Go has denied the allegations, saying these are unfounded, one-sided, unfair, and have no relation to his role and responsibilities as special assistant to the president. He said he merely performed his duties in accordance with the law and with the intention of helping Filipinos, particularly the poor and vulnerable. Go added that the accusations will not distract him from his responsibilities as a duly elected senator and that he remains focused on public service. Former PNP Chief Oscar Albayalde had earlier said in a March 2025 interview that he is ready to face the ICC.
Yes, we are preparing for this, of course, no? Kailangan talaga nating piniprepare ito. Pero kung talagang, sabi ko nga, kung talagang isusubo tayo ng gobyerno, then wala po tayong magagawa. Kasi after serving this country for almost 38 years, kung ito po ang isusukli ng ating gobyerno sa atin, wala po tayong magagawa.
For ICC Assistant to Counsel Attorney Cristina Conti, the identification of Duterte's alleged co-perpetrators shows what she described as a lack of accountability under the previous administration. She added that if arrest warrants are issued and enforced, and suspects are surrendered to the courts, separate cases will be opened before the ICC. For Mamamayang Liberal Party List Representative Laila De Lima, a known critic of the drug war, justice is now catching up with those behind the deadly anti-drug campaign.
Time and again, we warned these people, even from prison, that this day will come. Like Duterte, they did not listen. Mayayabang pa sila. Panahon na ng pagpapanagot sa pagpatay sa mga kapwa Pilipino. Oras na ng pagbabayad sa mga krimen laban sa sangkatauhan.
At present, around 500 more alleged victims of the war on drugs have applied to strengthen the case against Duterte. From February 23 to 27, confirmation hearings will be held to determine whether there is sufficient basis to proceed with the case against the former president.
Joining us to discuss this matter further is ICC Assistant to Counsel Attorney Cristina Conti. Good morning, Attorney. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Attorney.
Good morning.
All right, Attorney, with this development, no, ano yung reaction niyo po dito?
Well, certainly it's welcome. It was a pleasant surprise for us to hear about the names of co-perpetrators way ahead, at least a week before the actual confirmation of charges. We had expected names to be put forward, but during the hearing na. So, because I mean, you cannot discuss the charges against Duterte without talking about co-perpetrators.
That's right.
And it would be ridiculous to say blank blank assisted, blank blank did this. So we were expecting some names to be dropped during that hearing, but apparently all of the parties involved, the court, the prosecutor, and even the defense saw the need or the helpfulness of having these names put forward. So now we have a more comprehensive picture coming into the hearing.
Okay. Were you surprised, Attorney? Because although we all know they are all linked to Duterte in some way, but parang initial reports came out, parang si Bato lang and si former PNP Chief Albayalde. No? Senator Bongo is even there. Were you surprised that the other names came out?
Well, not really, in the sense that these are persons alleged to have assisted Duterte, not really persons who will be covered by a warrant or who are being covered by the case. Hindi naman ganun yung itsura nito na co-accused or co-conspirator sila as we know it. This is more of they're supporting actors in a story that is being told where Duterte is the lead, siya yung bida. So, kailangan banggitin yung supporting actors. So, for us even, there should have been more names put into the list because these people assisted Duterte. But as it appears, this team of 8 were most crucial in making the war on drugs effective.
Wait, before, I'll just like to clarify that. No? Kasi co-perpetrator. So, what's going to happen in terms of paano yung cases against them? Are they going to be tried sabay-sabay or will they go to individual processes just like the former president?
So at this point, they are not accused nor suspects even in this case.
Right.
So there are no charges against them, and if we were to look back further, there are no warrants of arrest against any of them. Kaya po warrant of arrest o kaya charges kasi dun may ebidensya ng naipresenta. You can only secure a warrant, you can only obtain a warrant if there is reasonable basis to believe that a person committed crimes against humanity within this context. As of now, as far as we know, wala pa namang warrant against any of them. If ever, pwedeng baka na-apply, baka may draft, pero wala pa yung issued warrant. We just have to wait. Now, the thing is, will the ICC proceed or is the ICC compelled even, ganun pa nga, to proceed against all of them. No. It would be upon their discretion to determine who would be, quote-unquote, most responsible. When you say most responsible, sorry, but it's not that, kumbaga grammatically correct. Kasi when you say most responsible, is it just one person? It could be several persons. The way they define most responsible is, these are persons who could have prevented or stopped the commission of the crime.
Okay.
Kumbaga, yung pinaka-ulo, pinaka may say doon sa pangyayari. At pwedeng hindi lahat, pwedeng ilan lang, pero depende yan sa prosecutor kung paano nila i-execute or ipoproseso. Pero ang malinaw, as of now, from the point of view of the commission of the crime, so the theory of the prosecution is, when the crime was committed, these persons will involve.
Okay.
Kaya this is not only a challenge to the ICC, but also to the domestic legal system.
Right.
How do we now go after these perpetrators? That's the other side of complementary that we can talk about.
Well, what is the significant impact or implication of including the former Justice Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre doon sa listahan ng mga co-perpetrators?
Well, first, why was he included? It's because not only did he make statements, while Duterte was mayor, he was lawyer personally in his capacity as a lawyer. He lawyered for those accused of killings during the DDS era. So ito yung Davao killings. And then he was Secretary of Justice during the time that Duterte was president. The Secretary of Justice is required, mandated to investigate cases. Well, this is his defense that should be brought before them by the police. However, there would be wide-ranging powers on the part of the Secretary of Justice to investigate allegations of killings, lalo na kung ganito kalala. Kaya, ang isang sinasabi ng ICC, hindi lang kasi simpleng implementation ng issue dito, kundi ang pagpapaniguro na may impunity o kawalang pananagutan. At yung personal na partisipasyon ng mga taong ito, kabilang na si Aguirre, ay para magbuo ng environment ng kapanatagan dun sa lahat na kung hindi man inutusang pumatay, pumatay dahil alam nilang hindi sila mananagot.
Kumbaga, attorney, by including the former DOJ Secretary, parang you're saying na there's a reason kung bakit dapat talaga nasa ICC ito. Because there's really no way...
Common plan.
There's really no way that this could have been tried in the Philippine system because you have the DOJ Secretary also turning a blind eye and parang, although hindi siya nasa implementation, nakatingin sa kabila.
Yes, at kabilang din dyan, yung, kumbaga, pwede nating mahalin tulad, andyan yung NBI chief, nandyan yung PIDEA chief.
That's right.
These are units that could have checked the PNP in its actions, especially as in drug operations, it's the PIDEA that should have taken the lead. Nung panahon ni Duterte, nilipat sa PNP yung lead.
Yeah.
Kaya medyo yung mga tao, parang akala nila normal na may PNP. Hindi po, PIDEA talaga dapat ang lead dyan. May mga protocols, etc. Kaya sa pangkalahatan, parang naluto. Kumbaga, sinisigurado nila na kumpletos recados. At sa dulo, kakainin na lang yung kwento na ay nanlaban kasi yan at hindi na natin kakasuhan.
Well, former Justice Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre mentioned in one of his interviews over the weekend na he will resist any arrest warrant against him legally, no? So, meron pa bang ganon? Kasi yung mga kampo nila laging sinasabi, they want the court, no, the Supreme Court to release a statement kung ano ba talaga yung magiging parang batayan ng proseso sa pagkaganitong may mga pag-aresto mula sa International Criminal Court.
Well, okay, yun. Buti na lang nabanggit mo, Angela, legally. Kasi akala ko, resist the warrant. Baka nanlaban. So yes, they can do that. But then, just a guidance, and I hope they look through the Rome Statute and all other laws, especially those in the Philippines, kasi kung dito sila mag-i-invoke. Because the Rome Statute specifically provides that any question about its jurisdiction, about its legality, invalidity, should be addressed to the court. And so I would even say that the Supreme Court of the Philippines would not be in a position to decide the legality, kumbaga, of the ICC, except, of course, in a particular case na sinasabing unconstitutional yung provisions ng ICC. Pero ang tagal nating naging miyembro niyan, ang tagal
Yeah.
nating
Yes.
nataklaw niyan. Kaya it's kind of moot at this point. However, of course, pwede pa nilang sabihin na bakit mag-exert ng powers yung ICC sa atin habang hindi tayo
That's
miyembro. Again, on that point, nag-decide yung ICC pre-trial chamber just last
Right.
month, I think. They said that, November. They said that the ICC continues to exercise jurisdiction only over a small area. Yung portion lang na the ICC can look into cases or the incidents of war on drugs, killings, and other inhumane acts between 2011 hanggang 2019. Narrow portion of so many other crimes that they could investigate.
Pero attorney, paano yung, medyo tricky kasi ito yung kay Senator Bato and kay Senator Bongo, who are sitting senators, no? How do we effect kung magkaroon, alam ko wala pang warrant, but how do we then effect a warrant of arrest towards two sitting senators?
Well, technically, sitting senators do not enjoy like absolute immunity. And in the same way that there is no presidential immunity recognized before the ICC, kahit presidente pwede niya.
So a sitting president
ipahuli.
pwede?
Pwede.
Okay.
So likewise, there would be no such immunity recognized.
Kumbaga, ang question lang, attorney, sino ang huhuli sa isang president
Ayan.
or senator?
It's the implementation.
Okay.
So, ang tinatanong ng iba, pwede ba itong katulad nung kay Duterte na hulihan? Pwede. At yun yung paninindigan ng ICC ng Pilipinas na, ito yung nandun sa Rome Statute
Yeah.
Hulihin ayon sa batas ng Pilipinas. Supposedly, dapat dadalhin sa korte. At i-verify yung identity. Nilampasan yun ng Pilipinas, sabi nung General Torre,
Right.
sino bang humulong? Torre, no?
Yes, General
sabi,
Torre.
ang defense ni General Torre ay, hindi naman tayo member, so sa akin, hulihin according to the protocol, and then, ang kumagat na susunod, yung surrender,
Yeah.
or pag-turn over ng tao sa ICC. Pwedeng ganon, pero ayon kasi sa Rome Statute, dapat kung susundin natin yung Article 29, dadalhin to sa local court, i-verify yung identity, i-check kung na-violate yung karapatan. At kung sakasakali, pwede siyang mag-apply ng remedy na interim release. Walang pag-uusapan tungkol sa validity ng warrant, walang pag-uusapan tungkol sa constitutionality, kumbaga, ng either ICC, ng Rome Statute mismo, o ibang provisions nito. Kaya medyo kaiba ito sa extradition process.
Yes.
Unahan ko na yung sinasabi ni Senator Lacson, I think,
Yes.
na prosesong dalhin sa local court.
Local court.
Dapat po ilinaw kung should it be according to the extradition process as it seems he's suggesting, or according to the protocol of the ICC. Sa Rome Statute, yung daan sa korte only to verify identity.
Well, I wanna ask you also, attorney, doon sa panig din also ng defense, si Attorney Kaufman, no? He's seeking the removal of 3 Filipino lawyers, no? Sila Attorney James Butuyan, Gil San Andres, or Andres rather. Ano po ba yan? Ano yung merit ng kanilang reklamo? Bakit bakit po yung sinasabi na kailangan i-remove, no? Itong 3 Filipino lawyers na ito?
Well, first, I'm sorry but I cannot talk about, kumbaga, the entirety of
Yeah.
that matter. Since it's pending and the parties will be given a chance to comment. So, maririnig naman natin kung anong depensa ng mga abogado. Pero largely, ito ay nakabatay sa conflict of interest. Kumbaga, meron kang participation or meron kang ugnayan dun sa kabilang grupo. May 3 legal teams, no? Prosecution, defense, and victims. So, kung may conflict of interest ka, hindi ka na patas. So, you are biased, you are prejudiced. Ito yung ginamit kay Prosecutor Karim Khan.
Right.
Siya ang disqualified. Kung
right.
mabalikan natin, pinadisqualify na siya at nag-succeed dito si Kaufman dahil for a time, nagkaroon siya ng involvement assisting victims.
Right.
So sa ICC po, hiwalay ang grupo ng victims at hiwalay ang kumbaga team ng prosecution. Kaya parang dito siya nasabit, kumbaga, na tumulong siya di umano dun sa victims. Anyway, si Karimka naman, sinasabi niya, sa totoo, hindi ako nakialam dun sa yung quote-unquote, kumbaga parang tinulungan niya. Hindi ako nakialam dun sa pagpapasya dun sa kanilang sinabmit. Pero para iwasan, so yun yung isang importante, para iwasan ang any allegation, semblance of bias, ako na rin mismo ay umaatras.
Okay.
Kaya sa ICC, mabigat yun only the semblance or appearance of bias, posible ka talagang ipa-disqualify.
Iba talaga. Pero ang moving forward dito, attorney, what can we expect next with regards after being these names ng mga co-perpetrators were released? Kailan natin malalaman whether kung sino ang may magkakaroon ng warrant
Arrest
dyan o
warrant.
hindi?
Ako, abangan yan. Hindi ko rin alam kung ano ang strategy ng prosecution dyan. At ako, umaasa lang ako na at the least meron kay Senator Bato de la Rosa kasi imposibleng mag-trial nang hindi kinikilala yung ama ng Tokhang, di ba? Kaya aabangan natin kung paano nila i-determine kung sino yung kaya or sino yung dapat pang ICC at wag nating kakalimutan, sino yung para sana sa local court.
Okay.
So there is a challenge to the local government as well to ensure that they also fulfill their side of the bargain, which is to ensure that investigations and prosecutions also go against those who are hindi most responsible, who are medyo more responsible, and also the responsible. Lahat ng sangkot, kumbaga, dapat managot.
Alright, but very quickly na lang po, as we speak, tuloy na tuloy naman po ang confirmation of charges ni former President Rodrigo Duterte on February 23.
Yes, dapat. At ngayong araw lalabas yung mga pangalan ng makaka-reserve or reservation sa seats, yung makakapasok sa loob ng gallery, public gallery sa taas kasi 100 names lang yun, more or less. So, as far as we know, nothing is going to stop February 20.
But is he obligated to appear in person or via Zoom ulit katulad nung first official appearance niya?
It's his choice. So, lagi yung may katawan ang may kapasyahan. He can actually waive his appearance explicitly under the rules. Kasi nga, hindi naman to trial.
Right.
At ang pag-uusapan, ano yung kaso. He could appear before the court, and this is preferable, in person, but he could also opt not to appear. In the middle ground would be, he could appear via video call.
Ayun. Alright. As always, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras and insights, ICC Assistant to Counsel, Attorney Cristina Conti. Magandang umaga po.
Morning, ingat.
Right, tensions continue to rise between Philippine officials and the Chinese embassy as both sides exchanged strong statements over recent remarks on and the ongoing West Philippine Sea issue. Here's the report.
The exchange of sharp words continues between Philippine officials and the Chinese embassy. Mamayang Liberal Party List Representative Laila De Lima earlier said it was ironic that the embassy's spokesperson appears to be enjoying freedom of speech in the Philippines, something she claimed they cannot freely exercise in China due to what she described as a one-party dictatorship. Chinese embassy spokesperson Ji Lingpeng responded, saying such remarks are wrong and unhelpful. He stressed that Chinese embassy officials and diplomats are in the Philippines as official representative of China and its government, not as guests. Xi added that freedom of speech does not mean anyone is free to attack China, while denying them the right to defend themselves, and urged De Lima not to interfere in China's affairs. He also described De Lima's use of terms such as dictatorship and reference to Chinese diplomats as wolf warriors, as rude and disrespectful, saying such language is unbecoming of an elected official. For maritime law expert Professor J. Batumbakal, such actions by the Chinese embassy could be considered interference in the country's domestic affairs.
Kasi kung titignan natin, no, lahat ng ibang embahada, whether it's Canada, US, Japan, etc., kahit nagkakaroon tayo ng mga matitinding issue tungkol sa kanila, no, kahit may nag-uusapan, nag-criticize sa kanila, mga legislator, mga taong bayan, tahimik sila. No? Bakit? Kasi alam nilang pag sila ay pumasok sa ganong usapin, parang panghihimasok na yan.
Whether the Chinese ambassador to the Philippines should be replaced is up to the President, Ferdinand Marcos Jr. Earlier, the President led the inauguration of Phase 2 of the Chinatown Revitalization Project in Binondo, Manila, where Chinese Ambassador Ji Qian was also present and announced the opening of direct flights from Cebu to Fujian, China. The President expressed gratitude for the development, but Tombaka said such engagement may be efforts to improve strained relations.
Hindi yon necessarily indication na nagsosoften tayo pagdating sa West Philippine Sea. Pero syempre, valid question din na sigurado ka ba na yung pag-improve ng economic relations and cultural relations later on hindi nila gagamitin para ma-leverage yung sa political. So, siguro ingat lang dun sa aspeto na yon.
Meanwhile, Philippine Coast Guard spokesperson for the West Philippine Sea, Commodore J. Tariela, rejected claims that the government's transparency efforts are provoking China.
We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. Good morning. You're still watching News and Views here on One News. The Bureau of Immigration arrested a 30-year-old Mongolian national in Zambales on February 12 for alleged espionage activities. The operation took place at an aviation school in Barangay Lipay, Dingin after the BI tagged him as an undesirable alien for posing a risk to public interest and safety. Authorities said he reportedly conducted aerial photography of Iba Airport and the nearby Palawi River near the disputed Scarborough Shoal. He is currently held at the BI Warden facility pending deportation.
Joining us now on the line is Bureau of Immigration spokesperson Dana Sandoval for the latest on the arrest of the alleged spy. Good morning.
Good morning. Magandang umaga po.
All right, of course, ma'am, thank you for joining us. But the question po dito is, what led authorities to tag this supposedly Mongolian national as a spy?
Yes, we're looking into the activities or movements of certain foreign nationals that have been monitored to be doing suspicious activities. So it's not just the BI that's conducting the monitoring, but we're also in close coordination with different intelligence agencies that are focusing on possible espionage activities in the country. So when we found out that this guy was in the area, and apparently what he has been doing is he was taking flying lessons to be able to fly over Zambales and take photos of critical areas in up north. So this is really concerning for us, and we're thankful that our partnership with the armed forces of the Philippines and other intelligence agencies have led to this guy's arrest.
But spokes, prior to his arrest, meron na po ba tayong mga ginawang surveillance sa kanya?
We have been conducting investigation on him, not with him actually. There are also certain individuals that are target of the investigation. But before we conducted our arrest, we checked the records to see if he is wanted somewhere or if he has other derogatory records. So far, there were no derogatory records, other derogatory records issued against him. But the thing is, he was already found to be doing suspicious activities in the area. Ito yung nakikita natin actually, that he is said to have an affiliation with the Chinese government. Allegedly, his schooling was sponsored by the Chinese government and he previously worked for them.
And ano po ang explanation ng individual about why he's in the Philippines, but dito niya na isipan na mag-aral ng flying school?
Well, during the initial interview, he was denying everything and he said that he's just a student in the country. But of course, we have been monitoring his movements already. I don't think he will admit to anything naman.
Yes, that's right.
At this point. But from what we see, his actions are really very suspicious and siguro cause for concern for the intelligence agencies in the country.
Of course, Spokes, moving forward, no, gaano ka-serious tong issue na ito? I mean, are we looking at other people? And is it common for the Chinese government to sponsor supposedly students who want to take up different kinds of lessons here in the Philippines?
We don't think it's common, and the actions are really suspicious. I think the AFP in particular have been monitoring this guy for several months already, and his affiliations with the Chinese government. So we believe this is a clear-cut case, and siguro talagang what's next for him is that he will be facing deportation proceedings. So he's currently in our facility in Taguig while undergoing the deportation proceedings. But we're also coordinating with the AFP if they're planning to file any local cases against him. If they will be filing other local cases against him, we would have to wait for the resolution of that before we implement the deportation.
Right. Well, this is a developing story. Meantime, we'll keep in touch with you to get more updates. Maraming salamat po sa iyong oras, Bureau of Immigration spokesperson Dana Sandoval.
Definitely po. Salamat and good morning.
Morning.
The Department of Education is considering a trimester system for the school year 2026-2027 to improve learning continuity and ease teachers' workload. Now, the 201-day school year would be divided into 3 terms, with time for assessments, remediation, and teacher planning. DepEd also plans to integrate national and cultural observances into lessons to minimize disruptions. Meanwhile, the agency has granted up to 5 days of annual wellness leave for teachers and non-teaching personnel to support mental health and improve workplace conditions.
In other news, the Chinatown Revitalization Project is rolling out new lights, landmarks, and cultural features to boost tourism and business in Binondo. Mobile journalist Arles de los Santos reports.
In celebration of the Chinese New Year, Binondo, the oldest Chinatown in the world, has come alive to illuminate its rich cultural heritage. Among those dazzling with colorful lights with redeemed lives are Binondo Chinatown Arc, Ongpin Street, and the dynamic LED walls in lampposts, which are the birthchild of the Chinatown Revitalization Project that is now on its second phase. It aims to symbolize Binondo's lasting journey with its roots tracing back to 1594. One of the widely visited is the projection mapping show at the facade of the Minor Basilica and National Shrine of St. Lorenzo Ruiz or Binondo Church that shimmers with a 4-minute light show that showcases the storied past of Binondo, including the centuries of culture, faith, and resilience of Filipinos and Chinese that is the reason of what it is today. Those who came to see Binondo for the Chinese New Year couldn't help but pose for a picture and feel the nostalgia.
Instagram worthy. Nice po, ang dami pong food, yung mga trending po sa TikTok sa social media. Tinatry po namin isa-isa. Super happy po.
So masaya naman. Parang balik tanaw, tapos yung may pagkain. Tapos inaano rin namin na mag-New Year, magcha-Chinese New Year na. Parang nakikibahagi din kami.
Plaza San Lorenzo Ruiz is also filled with blissful lights and lanterns with the giant statue at the center for the upcoming Year of the Horse. And if you are looking for something tasty, let the lights lead you to Ongpin Street that will surely never miss to water your mouth with authentic Chinese foods, including the iconic tikoy, dumplings, and fried chicken. And of course, do not forget to buy your lucky charms to bring more luck for the Year of the Horse. For Pinoy vendors, celebrations like the Chinese New Year are among the best time for business, especially for Angelita, a single mom who has been selling in Binondo for 4 years already.
Kahit na nag-pandemic yan, ngayon lang ulit dumami ang tao. Mga Chinese, mahilig naman din po silang bumili. Wala namang problema sa kanila.
The Chinatown Revitalization Project, led by Filipino-Chinese community, aims to position Binondo as a safe, economic, and cultural hub that proves sustainable urban renewal is possible. As the oldest Chinatown in the world, Binondo has once again reaffirmed its cultural significance as a living testament to unity, diversity, and shared heritage in the heart of Manila, with Chinoys optimistic to celebrating more years of stronger and harmonious relationship. Kapatid Arles de los Santos, we are One News.
At this point, let's check the situation in Binondo ahead of the 2026 Lunar New Year. We have mobile journalist Ray Vicente.
Hi, Ray.
Angela Diego, magandang umaga at isang araw nga bago ang Chinese New Year kinabukasan ay may ilan na sa ating mga kapatid ang sinumantala na pumunta rito sa Binondo para nga mamili ng kanilang mga Lucky Charms. So, i-walkthrough ko lang kayo saglit, Angela Diego, sa kasalukuyang sitwasyon dito. So, yan. Kung makikita nyo, may mga motorista natin ay passable pa naman yung mismong daanan. Kasi sa ngayon kasi, Angelo Diego, wala pa namang mga daanan na sarado maliban dun sa Intramuros Bridge. So, papakita ko rin sa inyo yung ilang mga pagkain, mga delicacies, at syempre, mga Lucky Charms na talaga na mga binibili ng mga ating kapatid, no? So, ito yung talaga mabenta ngayon, Angela Diego, which is yung horse figurine kasi nga syempre Year of the Horse na binibenta sa halagang 50 pesos. Pero kumpara na isang taon, Angela Diego, mas mahal na siya dahil nasa 35 pesos lang ito. So dumako naman tayo sa ibang bahagi nito sa kahabaan ng Ongpin Street sa Binondo para tingnan. So Angela Diego, kumpara talaga nung isang taon, mas nagmahal talaga yung mga Lucky Charms ngayon dahil nga syempre
Yes, Ray. Ray, nawawala ka.
Hello, Angela Diego?
Yeah, okay na. Okay na. Go ahead.
Okay. Katulad na lamang nitong mga lucky bracelets or lucky charms na iba-iba yung mga presyo niya, no? Pero usually nasa 350 pesos siya ngayong taon, pero mas nagmahal talaga siya kumpara na isang taon na nasa 250 pesos lang. At meron din sila dito na prosperity tree. Ito kung makikita nyo yung gold na nasa halagang 350 pesos na nagmahal din ng 100. Pero Angela Diego, kumpara talaga sa mga normal days, actually mas bababa na yung presyo ngayong Chinese New Year kasi on a normal day basis talaga, Angela Diego, mas mahal ito ng 5 to 10 pesos kasi ngayong Chinese New Year talaga mas marami daw namimili kaya mas binabaan talaga nila yung presyo. Papakita ko lang din ulit yung mismong sitwasyon dito sa daanan. Kaya ang nasabi ko kanina, makikita nyo, passable pa talaga ng mga kotse at mga motor kasi sa ngayon wala pa namang mga daanan na sarado. Pero yun, sa pagsapit nga daw ng hapon, inaasahan talaga na mas dadami yung mga bibisita dito sa Binondo dahil nga sa inaabangan na fireworks display na mangyayari dito sa Jones Bridge. At syempre, naabisuhan na rin ng ating mga otoridad yung mga gustong pumunta rito na may mga parke naman kada street, malapit dito sa Ongpin Street. Pero syempre, mas mabuti na lang na pumunta na mas maaga dahil may mga ilang daan na magkasarado na. Mamayang gabi katulad na lamang ng southbound lane of Jones Bridge mamayang alas 7 ng gabi at ang northbound lane ng Jones Bridge mamayang alas 9 ng gabi. Angela Diego.
Alright, maraming salamat, mobile journalist Ray Vicente reporting live in Binondo.
Don't go away because we're not done yet. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching News and Views here on One News. The House of Representatives is set to hold a memorial service for former Speaker Jose De Venecia Jr. today, February 16. For the details, we have mobile journalist Amy Atienza.
Good morning, Angela Diego. Way past around 10 in the morning today, no, ay nakita na nga natin yung labi ni former Speaker Jose De Venecia Jr. dito mismo sa House of Representatives. Kanina narinig na rin natin, no, yung ilang mga may posisyon dito mismo sa Kamara na nagsalita ng kanilang eulogy para kay JDV o Manong Joe, kung na mas kilala nila dito mismo, no, sa Kamara. Narinig natin si Speaker Bogie III kung saan sinasabi niya nga na yung mga values na nabigay nga ni Manong Joe dito sa mga kongresista ay talagang ina-apply pa rin nila. Isa sa mga pinakapumukaw sa atin, no, yung sabi niya
may pangangatwiran pero patuloy ang pagpapakumbaba doon nga sa kanyang leadership na ipinakita. Bukod pa dyan, nagsalita na rin ang kanyang eulogy si former President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo kung saan nga nagsilbing speaker si Manong Joe para noong termino ni GMA at nasabi niya na yung dahil nga entrepreneur before si Manong Joe na-apply niya daw yung timing, yung strategies ng isang entrepreneur, isang businessman dito nga sa kanyang liderato sa Kamara. At abangan pa natin yung ilan pang mga magsasalita kabilang dyan si former Senate President, former Speaker din Manny Villar at ilan pang mga kongresista na gusto magpahayag nga ng kanilang pakikiramay. Nandito din yung family members ni Manong Joe para nga mapakita at maalala ang kanyang buhay bilang House Speaker. At kung babalikan lang din natin he served 5 terms in Congress dahil nga as Speaker dito sa Congress. So inaasahan natin na mamaya ay medyo matagal-tagal itong matatapos at inaasahan natin na later on ay magkakaroon pa nga ng konting prayers para kay JDV.
Alright, maraming salamat mobile journalist Amy Atienza.
Several groups are set to hold a prayer rally along EDSA. For the details, let's bring in Mobile Journal Fatima Baduria. Fatima, go ahead.
Angela, Diego, magsasagawa nga ng prayer rally na tatawaging prayer power sa EDSA Shrine sa Linggo, February 22 bilang pag-alala sa 40th anniversary ng EDSA People Power Revolution. Selebrasyon daw ito ng pananampalataya ng kalayaan at kapayapaan ng EDSA Revolution. At ngayon nga ay nagdaos ng press briefing ang organizer ng prayer rally na si Father Jerome Siciliano, ang rector ng National Shrine of Mary, Queen of Peace, o yung EDSA Shrine. Kasama niya rin si Father Robert Reyes, ang convener naman ng Clergy for Good Governance o ang grupo ng mga pari na nananawagan ng good governance. At magsisimula raw ang People Power ng prayer rally ng alas 12 ng tanghali at sisimulan nito ng misa na pamumunuan ni Cardinal Pablo David ng 2 p.m. at ng 12 p.m. at 2 p.m. naman magsisimula ang mismong prayer rally na gaganapin sa tapat ng EDSA Shrine mismo at nag-imbita nga raw sila dito ng iba't ibang speakers at kasama raw si Senator Bam Aquino at may iba pa raw na mga politicians na inimbitahan dito. Sa ngayon, wala pang specific na mga grupo o organisasyon kung sino-sino ang mga sasama sa prayer rally pero inimbitahan daw ni Father Siciliano ang iba't ibang civil group para makasali sa prayer rally at ganun din yung mga estudyante mula sa iba't ibang Catholic school. Target daw kasi nilang makasali rito yung mga kabataan na hindi naman na-witness yung People Power Revolution at nakikipag-ugnayan daw sila sa Catholic Educational Association of the Philippines para rito at bilang paghahanda magdadaos din daw sila ng mga novena masses tuwing 6 p.m. simula ngayong araw hanggang February 24. Pero sa ngayon, ongoing pa yung press conference, so nag-aabang din tayo ng iba pang mga detalye.
Hanggang anong oras yung kanilang magiging prayer rally dyan along EDSA? And ito yung mga same group na magdadaos ng trillion peso march.
Angela, hindi pa natin alam kung hanggang anong oras ba talaga matatapos ito dahil may balak rin silang magsagawa ng concert ng 4:30 p.m. after nung kanilang prayer rally. So aabangan din natin kung hanggang anong oras ba talaga matatapos ito.
Alright, thank you for that, Mobile Journal Fatima Baduria.
Now, what started as a simple interaction with neighborhood kids turned into a viral reminder that for children, feeling safe begins with being noticed. Mobile journalist Daniel Dayaw has the report.
This video, shared by content creator Era Kabilangan from Concepcion, Tarlac, touched the heart of many online, with netizens praising her simple act of kindness toward children.
Ang nangyari po talaga is pure, authentic, organic, totoo. Hindi siya pilit at hindi siya for content lang. Kaya siguro naging viral kasi naramdaman ng tao yung totoong saya.
In her videos, neighborhood kids flock toward her home, not for giveaways but for something simpler: time, attention, and a place where they feel welcome.
Hindi ko po alam kung paano po nagsimula eh. Isang araw lang po talaga nung nasa tindahan ako, tinatawag po nila ako. And then, nung lumabas ako, yun, sobrang saya nila. Doon ako nagsimulang nakipaglaro talaga sa kanila.
What started as a casual encounter turned into a daily play.
Tinitignan ko yung mga CCTVs. Ang cute, tinatawag po talaga nila ako. I think mas naging komportable sila kasi alam nila yung, nakikita nila yung safe sila and genuine yung pinapakita ko.
According to developmental and behavioral pediatrician Dr. Andrea Bagain, this connection is not coincidental.
Children are biologically wired to seek safety, and they are naturally drawn to adults who make them feel secure because safety is the foundation of healthy growth.
She explained that a safe space is not just a physical place, but an emotional experience.
In the Philippines, kasi we have this culture that bata ka pa, wala ka pa masyadong alam. Statements like this can sometimes unintentionally dismiss a child's feeling. So when children feel emotionally safe, their brain can now focus on learning, exploration, connection, and building confidence instead of protecting themselves all the time.
In a time when childhood is often rushed or spent on screens, Dr. Andrea emphasized that presence still matters most.
The fast pace that we have in this life, we have to be emotionally available. Sometimes the most powerful words are really, I'm here, tell me more, I can listen. Because when the children feel heard, they feel safe. And when children feel safe, they thrive.
As the videos continue to circulate online, content creator Era turned it into a quiet reminder that for children, feeling safe starts with being seen. Kapatid Mobile Journal Daniel Dayaw, we are One News.
Filipina tennis star Alex Ayala has advanced to the next round of the Dubai Tennis Championships after her first round opponent, American Hailey Baptiste, retired due to injury. Ayala took the opening set 6-4 before Baptiste withdrew early in the second set, handing the Filipina a walkover victory. She will now face world number 8 Jasmine Paolini in the round of 32 with a match schedule yet to be announced. The winner of their matchup will move on to face the victor between Linda Noskova and either Sorana Kirstea or Alexandra Sasnovich. Oy, happy Monday everyone, no? Thank you for...
New Year na
Oo,
tomorrow.
Chinese New Year.
Year of the Horse.
Year of the Horse. Pero di ba ano sabi nila sa Year of the Horse, sino daw yung mga maswerte? Rabbit.
Rabbit.
Ako, rabbit.
Kaaway ng horse yung mga rat. Ganun.
But the rabbit is also part of the rat family, di ba?
Pero hindi, swerte daw mga rabbit niya.
Oo, kami. Oo. Ang sabi nga ni Pops Lord nung nag-guest ako sa show niya last week, mga rabbit daw mahilig magkalat ng lahi. Kaya madaming rabbit sa mundo. Go and propagate. All right, that wraps up today's episode of News and Views.
Join us again tomorrow. I'm Angela Lagunzad Castro.
I'm Angelo Castro III, kapatid. We are One News.
All sides, all the time.